a game changer.
Mm.
It's actually a wasteful expenditure, and we encourage the government to depart from the narrative. Having said that, committing to uncap debt fund through a process of amending the earmark capping and alignment act of 2017, and then committing about 145 million Ghana cedis to capitation grants, committing about 3.5 billion cedis to the free senior high school program, in excess of 500 million for textbooks for basic schools, are very, very, very significant allocations to education. Significant in the sense that they are significant and unprecedented, and it must be acknowledged as such.
Mm. So for you, what the government announced in the budget, with the exception of the allocation to teacher training allowances, you think that the government is beginning from somewhere? But before we talk about your issues with the allowances, first, for the uninitiated, if we say Get Fund has been uncapped, what was the government saying?
Come again?
Yeah, I'm asking if you can explain to the uninitiated what the meaning of the uncapping of the Get Fund.
Yeah, the capping of Get Fund was occasioned by a law that was passed by Parliament, sponsored by the executive in 2017, ostensibly to repurpose a portion of Get Fund, for other priority areas outside education. Bear in mind that Get Fund is an earmark fund, and it was established purposely for education investment. So it meant that up to 70% of Get Fund levy accruals was going to be diverted, quote unquote, to other priority sectors of the government. Anytime you buy a bottle of water, you will see a tag on it, which contains a VAT element. Now, 2% of the tax you pay on the water goes into Get Fund, and so the total of all the 2.5% VAT payments we make ends up in a kitty which is called the Get Fund levy accrual. At the end of the year, the total accrued is supposed to have been fully shipped to Get Fund for funding education interventions and projects. But as a result of the capping, if 7 billion accrued through the 2.5% Get Fund levy payments, about 70% would be diverted to other sectors that the government called priority sectors, and only 30% averagely would have been available for financing education interventions. So that is what the capping really meant. So last year, in 2024, for instance, about 7 billion was expected to accrue from Get Fund, and a little about 4 billion was actually allocated, which was one of the highest allocations under the capping regime. And so simply on capping Get Fund means that all that we collect from Get Fund levy will be sent to the Education Ministry for use for investment in education. And that will mean that in the next 3 years, including this year, which is the fourth year, we are going to get up to 49 billion cedis the projections for Get Fund levy for education financing.
So would anyone be right to believe that the stalled Get Fund project that we've seen in many of the senior high schools in the country will see some form of resumption?
Yeah, once you are capping Get Fund, it means that the education sector is getting about a third of what they should have.
Hello, Mr. Asari.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your line was breaking. I think I can hear you now. Please proceed.
Yeah, so I'm saying that once you are capping Get Fund and you are taking away a significant portion of the Get Fund levy accruals, the meaning is that you are denying education up to 70% of what it would have been used to complete ongoing projects or started new projects, including infrastructural projects. And so partly the capping of Govt fund in the past 7 years has hugely constricted the Ministry of Education's ability to fund education infrastructure in line with the demand for education infrastructure. And that is why, yes, you see some abandoned projects or stalled projects. I'm not saying that the history of abandoned or stalled projects started with the capital of Govt fund. I'm saying that it's actually worsened the situation of abandoned or stalled projects or inadequate financial capacity to provide funding to develop education infrastructure.
I see. We've also seen the budget announcing an increment in budgetary provision for school feeding. For example, the government increasing it from 1 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos to 2 Ghana cedis. Also, capitation grant has increased. Beyond the increment in these budgetary allocations, really, what more is it there when it comes to, the school feeding program in terms of the quality, for example?
Well, I think the decision to increase the per unit allocation of the Ghana school feeding program to 2 cedis per meal is welcome, even though inadequate. We had advocated for 3 cedis per meal, 3 cedis per meal. In line with how our senior high schools are set, the senior high school lunch I think is 3 cedis. Breakfast is 2, supper is 2, and then lunch is 3. So we were advocating that we elevate it to the level of senior high school lunch. But I think from 1.5, I'm not too sure, 1.5 to 2 cedis, it's a significant step that must be acknowledged. We have continued to remind the government that the problem of the Ghana school feeding program is not just financing. It is a poor management which is centralized. In the history of SFPs, school feeding programs across Africa and South America, no country has been able to sustain the school feeding program under a centralized regime. The school feeding program, as conceived under President Govt, is supposed to be a locally owned program, locally led, where local resources will be prioritized, local caterers used, and local funding obtained. Now, where leveraging is required, central government comes in to support districts that have low income generating capacity to sustain the program. That's how it has worked across the world. And so we will urge the government to first of all decentralize the management and procurement of the school feeding program and ship it to the district. Finance it from central, that's fine. But then it is important for regulatory systems to put in place to ensure that the quality assurance is regulated. Quality is regulated. The quality of food served, the conditions under which food is prepared. Regulatory bodies, including FDA, Ministry of Education, and other policy level agencies, should have eyes at the local level to monitor quality assurance. That is how we believe the school feeding program can be improved. Beyond that, the politicization of the program limits its growth. The program is now a reward for political party women organizers. That is what the school feeding program has been in the past 2 decades. If we don't depart from using the school feeding program as a reward for party apparatchiks, it will never grow beyond its current state. And so these are the reforms we want to see, to inject some level of quality, efficiency in the management of the school feeding program beyond the increasing financial allocation.
Right, a very strong one there. But if I heard you earlier in your opening remarks, you described the allocation made to the allowances for teacher trainees and nursing trainees as wasteful expenditure. Why would you say that if the government is in fact paying the first year academic fees for university students? Is there anything wrong with the government going ahead to give allowances to people who are not benefiting from the freebies at the university level?
You yourself, that the tertiary allowance is wasteful. You know already. So everybody listening to me already knows. You see, the free tertiary you mentioned, don't forget it includes this very teacher training colleges. Are you aware? It includes the tertiary, all tertiary institutions, including nursing and college of education. The issue is this: all colleges of education are tertiary institutions. Kofi and Amma are sisters. They are siblings. Kofi attends Accra College of Education to go and read the basic education and becomes a teacher. a licensed teacher, as a passing licensor. Amma, who is Kofi's sister, also attends University of Ghana, which is just a kilometer away. And that's the same education program there. Right license, passes, and becomes a teacher. They are both posted to go and teach in the same school. Work under the same employer. How do you give Kofi an allowance of 400 cities every month and ask that the school uses 200 to cook for Kofi and then 200 is given to Kofi directly? And then you tell Amma, doing the same program, to rather go and take a student loan. You see? Apart from equity, it lacks any logic. And so, apart from it being wasteful, it is inequitable, and it doesn't represent the best use of the taxpayers' funds. If we have a strengthened student loan scheme, it won't be necessary to be giving handouts, 200 CDs to adult learners to manage their stay on campus for the whole month. What we need is a responsive student loan scheme, which the embassy promised in the manifesto, Student Loan Plus. We need a Student Loan Plus to come and take care of all tertiary students, including those in nursing colleges, teacher colleges, agri colleges, environment school, public universities, technical universities, and all public tertiary institutions, so that they will be given an amount that can really take care of them in school and not just 200 CDs to manage for the month. That is why we believe that spending over 200 million on teacher training allowances, spending over 400 million on nursing training allowances, when we are only committing 50 million for the women's banks, it doesn't represent the best use of taxpayers' CDs.
Grateful for your time. That's Kofi Asare, Executive